Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today I have a very special guest, David.
Hello, Karen.
Thank you so much for being here, David.
Oh, look, it's my pleasure.
Awesome. So David, you want to give your sort of 1 minute introduction? What do you do?
Well, you've only given me a minute.
Okay, 2 minute introduction.
No, that's all right. Well, currently I'm a musician, that's what I do. But it's more a hobby, although obviously if I get gigs I'm not going to refuse them. But my main thing that I do is just share the love of music, because that's what I love to do. And any opportunity I get a chance to play, I will do that. If that's accompanying people on the piano, because I'm a piano player, keyboard player, I'll do that. Or if it's accompanying a singing group, I love to do that. Or if it's just performing my own music or doing covers, why not? You know what I mean? So that's basically what I'm doing. In a past life, I've been an elite sports person representing Australia in two sports, Paralympic sport called Goalball, one word, Goalball, and in blind cricket as well. I also I had played blind table tennis, which is like, it's a bit like, no, I can't think of the actual sport now that it's similar to, but anyway. So that's, before that, in my working life, I've worked in IT. I actually like to say that I'm one of the few people that has worked at a university of actually going to one. Because I used to work.
Just skip the education, straight into it.
But I worked at University of Queensland for a while, providing IT support for blind and vision impaired people and helping them set up the computer access at the university, and also used to transcribe exams from print to braille so the blind students could do the exams, could read them and get access to the exams. So that's
you've done a lot.
Yeah, and then of course originally I'm from Vietnam, and I came to Australia right at the end of the Vietnam War back in 1975, and originally landed in Melbourne and was there for a while until 1993, and then I was lured up to Brisbane by a lovely young lady, and I've been in Brisbane since then. So yeah, love Brisbane.
Wow, that's awesome, and what a journey. So we really want to go right from the beginning. So do you have any sort of recollection of your early days in Vietnam?
No, not really. I have flashes. So basically, the first 7 years of my life, I can't really remember. So I've been relying on people that may have been there or may have got information to tell me what might have happened. So it's all second hand. But basically, when I was young, apparently my parents, they were so poor because of the war, obviously, that they thought the best way for me to survive was to put me on the streets and hope that I was going to be picked up by these nuns that used to scour the streets of Vietnam and pick up kids and put them into orphanages. So they probably thought that was the best way to get me a life, So hopefully I get picked up, get into an orphanage, and then from there maybe some family might take me or whatever, Yeah. So in a way that happened. So I went to an orphanage, and then back at the end of the Vietnam War, when it was ending, the Australian government and also the American government participated in a scheme where they were taking orphans from the orphanages of Vietnam and providing them homes in their respective countries. Me and my best friend, we got split up because they were just taking them at random. And I came to Australia, and he was given a place in America. So we both took separate flights, and unfortunately his plane crashed. So he never made it to America, but I was lucky enough to make it to Australia. But the reason why I say that is because, obviously being random, it could have been the other way around. I could have been going to America and he could have been coming to Australia. So seriously, that's why I just love Australia. That's why I love life so much, because it's like I've been given, this special gift, you know what I mean?
Yeah, what a blessing it is.
Yeah. So it has been for me, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. But now, as far as I'm totally blind, I don't know if I mentioned that, so I'm totally blind, and I always get asked how I became blind, and that's kind of, again, another question I can't really answer definitively, because I've got conflicting stories. One was that, I suffered from malnutrition, and the other was that I got a ricochet bullet from, kind of, because there was obviously war happening, that, kind of sliced off a bit of my left eye and then obviously affected my right eye. But I don't know which one of those is true. But I do know that I've got an artificial eye in my left eye, and I've got my right eye is, obviously affected where I used to have light perception. That means I could tell between the difference between light and dark, but now I don't have that at all. So that's why I'm completely, totally blind.
Yeah, so what is it so just black, is that everything that you see?
Yeah, well, what I think is black, because because I don't remember the first 7 years of my life, I don't really know colours or anything like that. So to me, I used to recognise everything by the different shades of light, because I used to have light perception. So I consider black as being the darkest thing that can be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously white being the brightest thing. And then because when I had light perception, I used to kind of look at cars or different objects and then see the shades of light, and then people would say, oh, that's orange, that's red, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I would just associate that with the brightness of lights I was seeing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or different shades of light. So when you say black, then I say, yes, well, that's what I see, dark, at the moment.
Yeah, wow, that's cool. And so, take me back, do you have much memory of coming to Australia, and how are you feeling, something so crazy to be on an airplane?
Yeah,
right?
well, basically what I remember is, and it's just kind of comes and goes, these memories. Basically I remember being in a hospital and somebody putting a wristband, that must have been in Vietnam, on me.
Yeah.
And then I remember being on a plane, and I remember as a young kid, I must have somehow escaped the seat of the plane, or maybe they just let me on the floor, because I remember rolling around on the floor of the plane as a young kid.
Sound like a bit of a cheeky young kid.
Yeah, apparently. And then I remember, then after that, I remember being put into they called it a lambie, which is like a I suppose you could say a combination for young babies, because I was pretty small then.
Yeah.
Even though I was 6 or 7 years old, I was still, comparatively to Australian kids, I was really small.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I remember being in this place, and all I wanted to do was grab somebody's radio.
Grab some radio?
Because I must have heard music, and I just wanted to get access to it. so I used to try and get people's radios off them.
Bit cheeky, huh? Were you successful?
Yeah, they get, what kids are like, they scream and loud enough, they get what they want.
Yeah.
So I learned that at an early age. Of course, I don't do that now.
You sure?
No, I just demand.
Yeah, okay. This new level. Nice. And so when you came to Australia, what was it kind of like being in a new country? Were you sort of placed with a family, or how did things
Yeah, well, basically, I think, when I first came to Australia, because I don't remember the first 7 years of my life, as I said, it was just like a new adventure for me, but from what I can now recall, I was placed into Sydney, into a place called Lambie for 3 months. Then they flew me to Melbourne.
Ooh.
And then that's where I stayed for a while. When I arrived in Melbourne, I went to another orphanage, I think they called it Kildonnan, for a while. And then that's where that's when I knew women could be evil, because there was a young girl delighted in putting drawing pins in my bed. So when I got it.
Oh shit! Ouch!
Yeah, no, that was, but obviously she was just playing a joke on me.
Yeah, that's a cruel joke, man.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So that was my first experience of Australian culture.
That is not an accurate representation.
No, I came to learn that later. But no. But but then I stayed there for a while. Then I went through various foster families.
Yeah.
And the problem about the foster family system back then was you could only stay with a family for 3 months. So that was good if you didn't like the family.
Short. Yeah.
Well, that was good if you didn't like the family. But if you got attached to a family, then it was really heartbreaking when you had to go. You know what I mean?
100%.
So then after the foster families, they put me into they don't have them as much now, but back then they had special schools designed for blind and vision impaired people. And so basically I was a school, and all the students were blind or vision impaired. So that, these days they kind of put them into the stream
school,
system,
yeah.
your main school system, and like just kind of like some schools might have a unit where they have the blind and visually impaired people. Then they integrate slowly into the classroom like that. But back then it was just a whole school just designed for people who had visual impairments. And basically what I mean by that, the subjects were designed for them. So you had subjects such as home economics,
Yeah.
mobility, or orientation to mobility. You were informed about all the different adaptive technologies that was back then, which wasn't much then.
Yeah, nothing.
But whatever was happening, like you'd be taught about that, and also you were introduced to sports that blind and vision impaired people play.
Yeah.
So it was just like a good environment to grow up in and learn how to adapt in the world. And I think they should have more of that these days, but they don't.
Yeah. And how was your experience varied across, living in an orphanage, foster family, and then living at the school, I suppose?
Well, I don't know. I preferred the living in the school situation, in a boarding school situation, because when you're in a family, I mean, unfortunately, if you get a good family, that's great. But if you get a bad one, you can't escape. Where at a boarding school, there's so many people there. If you kind of don't like one group of friends, you just move on to another.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
so true.
What's the old saying? You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your relative.
Family. Yeah.
And so being an orphan for me, I've really enjoyed it, and it also allowed me to, kind of learn life the way I perceived it, rather than being forced into, what my family would want me to think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to learn things for myself,
Yeah.
which is great.
That's cool. And are you able to share a little bit about the stories living from different foster families? Do you have a favourite memory, and how many did you go between?
Well, I probably went between 3 foster families I can remember.
Yeah.
One I didn't really like that much, so I won't bother about that one.
Yeah.
But the other foster families, they were great. I mean, they introduced me to the culture of Australia. They actually showed me that kids can be nice.
Wow, that's fun.
Yeah, but I think they also showed me a bit about family life. How, especially Christmas times, families get together and we all enjoy each other's company, and
Yeah.
and how the culture of families, and how your older people look after the young, etc., and how young people should respect everybody. And I think especially when you're young, you need to be taught those things.
Yeah, you need
respect.
to see by example.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, as a young kid growing up, having a good foster family, that's kind of, I don't really have any main stories, just stories of, kind of having enjoyable times and being happy, going onto the, going to the beaches and swimming in the ocean with your family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably, lying in the sand and your foster brothers and sisters burying you and seeing how far they could without you kind of getting out.
Yeah. Aww.
And then, kind of you doing the same thing to them, and everyone just having an enjoyable time.
Yeah.
Picking shells on the beach, those type of things.
Yeah.
Having barbecues. I used to enjoy those because, they used to cook the barbecues the best way, with a newspaper, wood, and you just do it, there was no gas involved. You had to go and help Dad go and get the wood and get it over and light it up, and then I got the experience first of burnt sausages, and I knew that was the Aussie way.
Yeah.
So now I enjoy them. And
Delicious.
chops as well.
Yeah, you're so good at storytelling. I'm literally just sort of imagining. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's when I started to enjoy food, unfortunately, too, because one of my foster families.
Fortunately.
My body says unfortunately, but I say fortunately. But especially some of those, you learned that the mums were the best cooks.
Yum.
And that's when I learned about having the family roast. And every Sunday, we'd go to church in the morning, and then afterwards you just sit at home, and you come home to a nice house smelling of roast lamb or beef or whatever, and your stomach just couldn't wait to get something down into it. You know, you sit around the table enjoying each other's company as well, and just sit around the table talking to each other, and that's where I learned all about that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then now back to the schooling life.
Well, schooling life was again, I learned there to accept different people. I mean, there were some people you didn't like, but that's when you just moved on, found other people, but in doing that, you learn about different cultures, because there were so many people there that were from different backgrounds to me. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where you learn about kind of sport and music. I remember that's where I first learned about the piano, because I had a piano there. Because back then, I think it was the kind of feeling that if a blind person was to do well in life, they had to become a musician.
Oh, yeah.
If they didn't want to weave baskets, because back then it was the thinking was a little bit primitive compared to today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so every blind person had to learn the piano, whether you liked it or not.
That's kind of funny, but a blessing in disguise.
Well, I remember as I got older, I was forced to play the piano, and so I had this music teacher. Her name was Barb Williams, and she was all right, but they used to teach classical piano. I just hated it, but I came to appreciate it because there was a girl I was interested in. She was in the lesson after me, so I used to come early so I could catch her.
Yeah. And how was that success in the early days?
Well, actually, no. Well, it's funny because we met about 5 years after school had finished, so we were a bit older, and we dated for a little while. Then we discovered that wasn't to be, and so luckily we didn't just discover that when we were younger.
Yeah.
But I say that because that's how much I didn't enjoy piano. But it must have had a little bit of effect on me, because when I wasn't being taught piano, I used to actually love getting on the piano that was in our boarding school, like in the actual residence area, because there was a music room and there was a residence area, and the residence area had a piano as well. And we used to call it a honky-tonk piano, because seriously, it was just way out of tune. So I used to love playing that, and those were days where we had cassettes. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
But so I used to have a tape recorder, have the latest song on that I've recorded from the radio, and then I used to try and play along to it on the piano.
Wow. That's kind of interesting. So you loved, just having that freedom to make whatever, but not in the traditional kind of school.
No, exactly. In that way. And I guess, so that led me up to a decision I had to make, whether I wanted to pursue music or focus more on sport. And I chose sport, of course, because back then it was more attractive to me. You know, I had a lot of friends in sport because I just discovered blind cricket.
Yeah.
And I was just asked to play for Victoria in the state team, so I had suddenly a bunch of new friends, and then I discovered that sport was able to teach me a lot more about life. I mean, in sport, you're spending 16 days with a group of people, and you can't escape, so you have to accept them. Where when I was at primary school, if I didn't like somebody, or if they were annoying me, I could just move away. But when you're spending 16 days with a bunch of guys that are on your team, whether you see them outside of that 16 days or whatever, you just had to accept them, and because you're all kind of trying to achieve the same goal. So you had to cooperate, and I learned all about cooperation, learning all about teamwork, learn all about how to live life and accept people, as I mentioned, and how to come up with solutions. Also, how to accept when things don't go your way as well. And I say that as far as, say, losing games, you have to accept how to accept the loss. Also, to be good winners as well.
Yeah.
And so that, in a way, taught you a bit about respect.
Yeah.
You know, for other people and your teammates as well, of course.
Yeah, that's cool. And also, tell me more about blind cricket and how does that work?
Blind cricket. Well, it's gone through a number of rule changes.
Short version.
Yes, we won't talk about the current version, but in my day, we played single-handed, and you played on a concrete pitch, and the pitch was the same size as a kind of mainstream cricket, and you had wickets at both ends, but you had 3 categories of blindness playing in the same team. So you had myself, I was considered B1, which is totally blind.
Yeah.
Then you had a B2 category, which was a person who was legally blind but almost totally blind. So they still had a bit of sight but not totally blind. And then you had the B3 category, which was the legally blind players that had the most sight.
Yeah.
And basically the categories go totally blind, as I mentioned, no sight at all. Then you had like 1 to 360. So that means, you know, whatever a person can see at 1 metre, I guess, someone else can see at 60, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then from 360 onwards to about 660, that was the B3s. So it's basically I know that might sound confusing, but it basically, it's just, to put it simply, it's just different levels of sight, you know.
Yeah.
So they used to play 3 categories in one team, and basically we used a ball that was made of nylon tubing, woven around a wire frame. It looks like a ball, but with both ends flattened, and inside the ball was lead for weight and bottle tops to make the sound.
Yeah.
So we used to always say, well, that's why blind cricketers are really good drinkers, because we had to provide the bottle tops.
It's teamwork.
Yeah, so we had to drink all the beer just to provide the beer bottle top for the cricket balls.
Willingly, David did.
Of course, you know, I wanted to be the best contributor.
Yeah. Wow. And so for someone, so you're saying that, so being in the sort of like B1 division, so you said the ball was like around 1 metre away, so they would sort of bounce it on the ground, you'd hear it, and then you swing.
Yeah, well, basically, and so you'd have a bowl, the person, so basically, because there was 3 categories, the less advantages you had, so basically the less sight you had, the more things you could do in the game. So basically, I could bowl to all the categories because I was a B1.
Yeah.
But a B3, the one with the most sight, couldn't bowl to me.
Yeah.
And also B2 couldn't bowl to me.
Yeah.
So basically, but the way the bowling works and the batting works is that the ball's bowled along the ground or bounced along the ground underarm.
Yeah.
And say, for example, someone's bowling to me, they yell out to the wicket-keeper who's behind me, and the keeper would yell out the bowler's name a few times just so the bowler can get the direction of where the wickets are.
Yeah.
And where to bowl to. And then he'd ask me, or she would ask me if I'm ready, and I'd say yes. And then before they bowl the ball, they say play, so you know when the ball is being bowled. And then you'd hear the ball on ground, and it's up to you to play your shot. But also you'd have the person running for you, because you wouldn't want accidents.
Yeah.
And the person running for you then would also give you a call. So they'd say to you, the ball, they'd just give you 3 words or 3 key words: straight, leg, or off. Now, if you know cricket, you know what that means. But basically, they're telling you the direction of roughly where the ball is. And then it's up to you to focus in on that particular direction, and then play the shot you want to play. Oh. And then obviously, when you're bowling, you know, you're bowling underarm and trying to get as straight as possible. Yeah. So basically, that's a quick summary of the game. I mean, it's a lot more involved than that.
Yeah. 100%.
But I mean, we've only got an hour.
Yeah. Wow, but yeah, that's so awesome, like how they adapted it, and it does sound quite complicated.
No, it can be, yes.
Yeah. Also, tell me about the blind table tennis.
No, blind table tennis. Now, that's the spot I was trying to think. It's a bit like air hockey. So basically, but you're kind of using a ball which is like, you know, those practice golf balls.
Yeah.
So the plastic ball with holes in it, and inside the ball are bells, the kind of bells you can get in a pet shop.
Yeah.
And you're using a paddle style bat, which is about 30 centimetres long. And the table is about 3 metres long, I think it is. Yeah. And for doubles, it's 1.5 metres wide, and for singles, it's 1 metre wide. And on the sides of the table, running down from one end of the table to the other, on each side of the table, it's raised by about 4 inches. Yeah. So the table has like 2 raised sides. Then cutting the table in half, going from one side of the table to the other, is an opaque board which sits on the top of the 2 sides, which creates the gap from the bottom of the net to the surface of the table, 4 inches, and that's where you've got to hit the ball under. So you're hitting the ball under the net.
Oh.
And the net's and the board is about 8 foot high, so you can't see. If someone's playing with sight, they can't see supposedly they can't see what's happening at the other end. But
Yeah.
if you got someone who's about 8 foot tall, they just look over the net. And some people used to look under the net.
Yeah.
because unfortunately in blind table tennis, there's no blindfold rule. You know, everyone doesn't need to wear a blindfold.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, basically you play table tennis rules. So each side of the table has a square, like they do in table tennis, and you're serving the ball from your square diagonally across to the other square, down the other end. And once they hit the ball, then it's free for all. You can hit the ball anywhere you want.
Yeah.
So that's basically blind table tennis in a nutshell.
Oh, that's cool. And also tell me about goalball.
Well, goalball, that's a
Is that your
Paralympic
favourite
sport.
one?
Well, it was my favourite sport because it's the only sport that has been built from the ground up for blind and vision impaired people, and it's, you know, a world sport played by over 70 countries,
Yeah.
mainly popular in Europe and America and South, you know, in the African countries as well, and all through Asia. Unfortunately, we're not that great, but some of the countries, like especially in Europe and in America, they're kind of semi-professional.
Yeah.
So anyway, goalballs are played on a volleyball court, size court, and so 80 metres long by 9 metres wide. That's the parameters of the court, and at each end of the court are your respective teams, and they're playing in front of a hockey-style type of goal or soccer-style goal where you have goal post, crossbar, and net. You know.
Yeah.
So in front of each goal are your respective teams, I said, and there's a kind of area which is from the goal line, 3 metres from the goal line, and in the width of the court, that's marked by tape and string, and that's where the players have to stay inside. And they're throwing a ball, which is a kilo in weight, and
Ouch.
probably about 75 centimetres diameter, I'd say. So it's like a medicine ball, right?
Yeah.
And so you're throwing that from your end of the court and trying to get it past the 3 players down the other end of the court. So each team has 3 players on the court at any one time.
Yeah.
You can have 6 players in a team, and then, you know, obviously they make substitutions, but you can only have 3 players on the court at any one time. And so you have to stop the ball. You can't go way up the court and stop it. You have to wait till the ball comes within 3 metres of your goal line, and then you can, you know, make your defensive move. And the way they usually form is you have a player on each goal post corner. They're what you call your wingers, and then you have another player who's 3 metres from the goal on the line, and they're usually your goal defender, like equivalent to your goalkeeper.
Wow.
And
then
everyone's under blindfold,
nice.
and you're throwing the ball along the ground, or bouncing it. But it doesn't matter how you throw it. You can throw it overarm. You can do anything as long as the ball, when it gets to the players down the other end, he's along the ground.
Wow, is it kind of like dodgeball? Like you use
Or sort of, yeah, but well, when I used to play, it was like dodgeball to me. I used to try and dodge the ball so it wouldn't hit me and hurt me.
Yeah.
That's when I started retiring.
Wait, you're supposed to block it.
We were supposed to block it, but yeah, but when it was when I started throwing at 100 k's an hour, I thought, no, I'm dodging that.
Oh.
That's what I thought. Nah, that's it for me. I think I could do more enjoyable things than getting smashed around.
Yeah. Wow. Damn.
Yeah, at the top level they throw really fast. I mean, and this sport's been played by women and men, but they're not mixed. Like they have a men's team and a women's team.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I was listening to like some championships. I think it was the World Championships, and I was listening to women. Geez, they throw hard, and the men throw harder. But I don't know. I couldn't tell much difference, to be honest.
Yeah. Both equally as hard.
It's pretty fast.
Yeah, and then tell me more about what is it sort of like, you know, pursuing like a career in sports.
Well, you're not going to pursue it to make money. It's for the love, like you do anything. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed it at the time. But you know, by the end of it, I probably wasn't enjoying it as much because, I mean, you know, I know people say it's great to represent Australia and it's great to play at an elite level, but I just felt that I didn't find an honour at all. I mean, it was an honour to have that in your resume,
Yeah.
but to actually do it, because seriously, can I swear on this podcast? No.
Please, go for it.
No, I'll just say when you get up to that level, obviously you run into a bunch of assholes. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Because everyone's competing for themselves, you know.
Yeah.
Where I used to, when I was, you know, not making it at that level, I love the grassroots level because everybody is just enjoying the sport for what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not trying to push you out of a spot. They're not trying to, you know, hot dog you, you know, kind of,
Yeah.
and all that type of thing. They pretend to be your mates, but they're not really, to be honest. So I never enjoyed my time playing elite sport at all. I thought it was crap, to be honest. I would have rather just not bothered about it if I knew what happened and just stuck to playing grass, to play for my state, you know, where everyone had a common goal and you were proud to play for your state. Everyone would do everything to make sure your state won, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or your team won or whatever it was. But once you go up to the elite level, seriously, I didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, it goes less from about the collective towards more about being the individual.
No, I felt so, even though it was even though it was a team sport. But
Yeah.
everyone who wanted to be in that spot that you were taking up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a fight.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe I just didn't have the constitution for it, and maybe that if I did, maybe it might have been different. But I was always like a team man, you know.
Yeah.
I just like to do what I can to help everybody, you know, to get the common goal. I wasn't really interested in playing those type of games where, you know, I want to kick someone out of a spot.
Yeah.
If I wasn't good enough, I wasn't good enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wasn't also going to go and waste $6,000 to play for Australia and to sit on the bench all the time and do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. You give it your best shot. Yeah.
No, whatever. But I mean, so that's what I just found at an elite level. I just, didn't really enjoy it, you know.
Yeah. Fair. And which sports did you play for Australia?
Goalball and blind
Goalball.
cricket. I played in 2 World Championships for goalball. The funny about that, they were 20 years apart.
Wow.
And blind cricket, I played, just like against. I played against New Zealand goalball as well, but that was just like for Trans-Tasman series we had.
Yeah.
And then for cricket, I played in the #1 world team in the world came over to Australia to play us, and then I was playing for Australia. But again, you think you get rewarded, but I was only B1 who smashed the 4 off their great fielding side, and
Yeah.
I hardly got many games, so
Yeah.
it wasn't really something I enjoyed. Again,
Yeah, fair enough.
But-
And what was the training like to become at that elite level?
Well, it would have if I enjoyed training, it would have been great. I was one of these guys who just hated training. I thought, what's the point of wasting all this energy running around laps on the oval when you could be putting it on the court or putting it on the
You're
field?
like a Game Boy rather than like the training.
And I mean, see, with Australian sport, blind sport, and I dare say it might be the same for other sports with disabilities, but because of our geographical nature of our country, it's really hard to get training camps as it is, because you've got people coming from Perth, South Australia, and we're not getting sponsored, so we're all paying for our own airfares and that. So why waste a weekend doing beep tests and all this other crap when you could be just playing heaps of games and getting to know your teammates and getting good combinations sorted? This is the coaching part of me talking now, because I did coach teams after I finished. I ruffled a few feathers.
Yeah.
I suppose that didn't help either in my sporting career. I was never one to, back down if I felt something had to be done.
Wow, good big guts.
Because that's probably why, I did lead a few, I was captain of a few teams and led a few teams as well, and coached after I finished playing sport, mainly coached goalball and did a bit of coaching in blind cricket as well, but not as much.
Yeah, that's cool. And you also previously mentioned that, obviously you do the sports for the fun rather than for the money. So just wondering, am I allowed to ask, how are you able to support yourself? I guess government will have some help, but...
No, it's government, but also a lot of friends and family would help.
Yeah.
A lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
Heaps of fundraising.
What were they doing? Were they doing a bake sale or something?
Oh, anything. Bake sale, barbecues, bingo nights.
Yeah.
Marathons,
Yeah.
I think for goalball, for example, one time we had a 24-hour goalball marathon where we just played non-stop goalball for 24 hours, and we just had 6 players and cheers. No, it wasn't 24 hours. I wish it was 24 hours.
Yeah,
it was 50 hours.
Oh.
50 hours. That's what it was. And we did this one down in Myer in Melbourne. And I remember playing at 2 a.m. in the morning, and we got one of the security guards to come and have a game, and he took one of those tracksuits off the shelves and used that to play in. So
Yeah.
that was just one of the stories I remembered. But yeah, we just had 6 players, and we just alternated between them, and then we had like teams who would come in and volunteer to play us for the 50 hours.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that was pretty tough, but we raised a lot of money.
Yeah, I was like, man, like, yeah, that's something that would be kind of, a lot of people put their money towards.
Yeah, so that's one thing we did, and that'd be like I said, trivia nights as well,
Nice.
and games of cricket where people would sponsor each one to get runs or wickets or whatever,
Yeah.
and they would go towards the cost. Then then of course once you've done the fundraising, then you would have to pay the balance yourself, and you'd have to save a lot of money,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. And then also tell me about when did you sort of officially retire from the sports and then into the hello music?
Well, my body said to me, mate, you've got to retire, back in 2013.
Wow, how old were you then? Man.
Oh, geez, what am I now? So that's what, 9 years ago, so I would have been 45. I actually retired from Goalball when I was 40.
Yeah. Wow, how long did you do sports for? For a good 20 years, or was that too much?
No, I started playing sport back in 82. So, and then I probably finished properly back in, if I was to be honest, back in 2013. So we're talking probably 31 years? So, yes, I retired. My body said I couldn't do it. My head said I could have gone on for 200 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, no, just kidding. But my body just said, no, that's enough. So then I retired from sport, and then I was doing nothing, and my friend Robin, she said, because she was living with me, and she still does, and she said, you're annoying me, you got to go and find something else to do.
Oh, that's funny.
So she said, why don't you focus on your music, because that was the one thing, like, how I spoke earlier about how I had to decide between sport and music when I was young. So she said, well, what a good idea. So I thought, well, why not just try it out? And then I met my friend Harmony at a course, and we went to a party, and she encouraged me to play the piano. So I just, I was extremely drunk, had a few drinks, and so
That helped.
yeah. So we had a few alcohols that night. So I played piano, and she loved it, and she kind of encouraged me to keep on going. So between Robin and Harmony, I was encouraged to try it out, and then I went to a course which is being held by Access Arts called Access Arts Singing, and it was a course at the time, and it's being led by Annie Peterson, who is an iconic name in the music industry in Queensland, because she used to do backup singing for Powderfinger for a while. Powderfinger being a pretty well-known Brisbane band, and also she was a programmer at Woodford for a while. One of the program directors at Woodford Folk Festival for a while. So she had a few connections, but anyway, she was leading the Access Arts singing course or choir, and I went there to learn singing. And then she said, we need someone to play the piano, because she heard me playing the piano. So I went and started learning to play the piano, and then she heard me sing and said, no, you don't need to sing. I said, oh, thanks, Annie.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So she said, no, but we need you to write a couple of songs and play the piano, just for this exercise. So I did write a couple of songs, and it was well received, and that's basically where my music journey started. And then she helped me get my first recording engineer, and then I recorded my first album back in 2016 called Happy Laughter. That was my first album. And then, after launching my album, I think it was in 4th of June 2016, I just played a few gigs around the Brisbane scene at places like Rick's Bar and the Milk Factory, as it was then. Now it's called Can You Keep a Secret?
Yeah.
I think it's still a secret. That's what it's called now.
Oh.
Can You Keep a Secret's another one down in Wollongabba. But anyway, so I played Rick's Bar, like Milk Factory, Brightside, and just places like that for a while. Then I started recording my second album with a different recording engineer, the one I've got currently now. And within all that time, I formed my own band, of course, because I needed that to play my live music. And then, since then, I've worked with different artists, whether in duo, trio form, and I've been currently just doing open mics, you know, just sharing my music, as I think I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. I just love sharing music, whether it's covers or my own original music, or just helping others, you know, achieve their musical dreams by starting them out work. Because sometimes, you know, especially singers, they don't know how to play instruments, but they need someone to accompany them.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to do as well.
Yeah. Wow. And like, because when you first got acquainted with music, it wasn't really love at first sight. So how did it? Is it something that slowly grows on you, and then you can see the beauty, or was it, you know, you were just so sick of sports, and then when you picked up the piano, you're like, this felt right?
Well, no, I think if you're referring to when I was a teenager, I wasn't. Yeah, well, I probably, you know, when you're a teenager, you know, you don't really know what you like, I guess. You know, you're still exploring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I finished playing sport, I think it was more of the fact that I had people encouraging me to focus on one thing. And then I just, when I had some free time, even when I was playing sport, I kind of used to dabble a little bit of just, you know, putting my hands on the keyboard and exploring.
Yeah. It was there kind of throughout.
But it wasn't really something I really thought much about, you know what I mean? It was just something to relax. But when it came to music, and I found out I actually enjoyed it. I used to spend 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon, just exploring the keyboard. There was no structure. And, you know, I just put my fingers where it felt good. And then if I heard a sound that sounded great, I would just try and remember how my fingers were placed and try it again. And then I actually did get some piano lessons.
Oh, perfect.
And just to, you know, kind of give me the basics, the relationship between, you know, each key, for example, and each chord, and you know, scales, which I hate. But, you know, but so I know scales, but I didn't bother practicing like he wanted me to.
Yeah, bit boring.
But yeah, and then of course, you know, other knowledge about music theory came from my musician friends. So I'd play a chord, sounded good. I'd say, "Oh, what do you call that chord, mate?" And he'd say, you know, it could be a diminished seven, or it could be an A sus, and then, you know, it's, "Oh, what does sus mean?" And then they'd tell me. So it was just, you know, networking and just finding stuff out like that through your mates. So I've never been to the con or anything like that. I think it's just only my theory, my opinion, of course, here when I say this. Says I think because I didn't go to the con, I feel that, you know, I was able to find out my own way of playing. So I wasn't forced into a box or, you know, into a structure. So that's why when you hear me play the piano, a lot of people say I play by feel, and that's because I'm not kind of hemmed in to a certain theory. I'm playing how I just feel it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah. And also, just kind of curious, how did you sort of learn piano? Was it like, do they have Braille music for you to read?
Well, they do have, but I don't know any Braille music. So I got a good piano teacher who actually showed me with his hands what he was doing on the keys. When he was trying to show me something, a technique or something, or a certain chord, he would actually play the chord, and I'd hear it, and he'd tell me exactly what notes he's playing. Then he'd show me by hand, so I'd feel his hands, and then he'd put my hands on the keys as well, so I could actually feel it. So, and then basically the piano teacher, he was like a manual to me, and basically a lot of times we just spoke about the history of pianos and just different things. There wasn't really a structure to our lessons. This was a bit like the way I like to learn.
Yeah. So, starting to realise that now, right? Kind of like free form.
Yeah, free form. It's on a needs to know basis. Like I'm the same with manuals. Like when I get a program from my computer, I'm trying to learn. If I don't learn it in 10 minutes, it's gone.
You're pretty impatient.
No, well, that's one way of putting it. Maybe it's my feel to say, well, if it's a good program, I'm going to learn it in 10 minutes. If it's crap, it's gone.
Yeah.
So I don't have to spend and waste my time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm the type of person who'll just read a manual, not, you know, just go to the parts I need.
Yeah.
You know, Linda can testify to that.
Yeah.
My friend Linda, who helps me quite a bit with reading stuff. But I mean, when I mentioned Linda, because now I have a lot more help with doing, you know, all the things I want to do, like playing music and going around to venues because of the NDIS, and
that's amazing.
And then they provide me with the what I call personal assistance, which allows me to access many more opportunities to do things that I wouldn't have probably had in the past. In the past, I probably would have had to rely on the goodwill of people. And although that's great, you just sometimes you feel like you're putting them out, even though you may not be. But this way, I just feel like, that they want to do it. That's what they're getting paid for. Of course, you've got to treat them with respect, so you don't just assume all these things. But the reality is that's they know that's the role, so you don't feel as bad. So therefore, you can do things and get independence from it, and that's what it's all about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's amazing. And am I able to ask, do you require like 24-hour care, or is it something?
Oh no, I don't think Linda would want to be with me 24 hours.
She would love it.
No, the care. When I don't need any care at all. Basically, my personal assistants are like a PA that a minister would have or something like that. Probably not paid as highly, but I mean,
paid with love.
But no, they what they usually for me do if I had eyes, they would do what I would do if I had eyes.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, you wouldn't want me driving a car. They 20 years time with those automatic cars. You might,
hello, David on the road.
That's what I often say to my friend Linda's and to my other personal assistants. I said, one day I'll come and pick you up.
Yeah. Oh, that was so funny.
But no, they do driving, and like they'll help me read information, such as like if we go out to a restaurant, they'll read the menus for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, help me access any amenities that I need to get to, such as bathrooms, etc.
Yeah.
And also help me through the crowded areas, because obviously sometimes it's just hard as a blind vision impaired person to be able to just navigate through crowds, or conversely they'll help me in other areas where it's so open that there's no way you can get anywhere to help guide you to where you want to go because it's so open. So just those things, and they'll help me access like medical appointments that, like, for example, I had to go to get a booster today. Some areas are easy to get into, but some areas aren't. So to have that side of assistance to help you get in there again helps a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what that's why I mentioned it, because back in the old days, though, you never had that at all.
Yeah.
So it was a bit limiting. So, but then having said that, we got by.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, David, what is a sort of day in the life for you? Are you an early bird riser?
Yes. I would probably get up at 4 in the morning on average.
Oh my gosh. No need for alarm clock?
No. Although if I've had a few drinks, I might need one. But but no, my body wakes me up usually around about 4 or 5. I get up, so I just find it's the best part of the day because it's so quiet, and I can get on my piano. And Robin, who lives with me, she loves it, so she gets up at the same time as well. But she doesn't mind if I play music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even when and so one time, I wrote a song when I was having a dream. The song came to me in a dream, and as soon as I woke up, I just rolled out of bed. My piano's right at the end of my bed.
Yeah.
Just got in there and played it and recorded it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But so you asked me about a day. So I start up 4 in the morning and would practice a little bit of piano. There's a 4 hours practice, for
wow, that's
till
solid.
about 8. Not all the time, but
yeah.
it can happen. And then we have a bit of breakfast, and then I might go and it depends what the day is like. There might be a day where I go and then go to accompany a singing group called Access Arts Singers and do that for a few hours. And then after that, I might go and then do an open mic in the evening.
Yeah.
So that could be a typical day, as well as all the other things I do during the day, as far as just listen to audio books and listening to the news and listening to when my sporting teams win, which doesn't happen that often, so that's why I don't have much time for that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So a basic day would be practice, breakfast, maybe some more practice, maybe working somewhere or performing, and then in the evening performing again at open mics or jams, etc. That's basically a day. And then on the weekends it could be the same thing, but instead of working, I'm having band practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. And tell me more about the music side. So how do you come up with the music? Like whether it be like, the lyrics you write or just maybe the piano kind of composition?
Piano, I can pull out of my backside. The piano stuff, like any tunes and that. But lyrics, I just can't do that. I know some people, you can say, oh, write about the last piece of toast you had, and they could probably come up with a song.
Yeah.
I just can't do that. So to me, when I'm writing a song, it has to mean something. You know what I mean? So that's why it takes me ages to write songs.
Yeah.
But there's no wrong. What my experience is, there's no wrong or right way of doing anything regarding writing songs. Like for example, I just mentioned before, one of my songs that I wrote came in a dream.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that if I didn't get it down straight away, I would have forgotten it.
Yeah.
And so the words, the music, and everything just came to me in a dream. I didn't have to think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or there might be a time where there's another song where I was in a discussion with a lady friend of mine, and she was telling me about how she regretted this breaking up with this relationship that she had. So that was another subject for a song. And then there was another song that I wrote where a gay friend of mine wanted to write about him coming out,
Yeah.
And so he gave me the first couple of lines, and then I wrote the rest.
That's awesome.
The funny thing about that song is I quickly learned that I had to change the words, because when I sang it as a solo act one time, someone asked me after the performance if I was gay. so from my performance from then, I said, nah, okay, I have to give you a disclaimer. I'm single, straight, and available.
Nice. That's pretty funny.
And then I changed the words to, instead of coming out, because the song's called Coming Out, I said breaking out.
Oh! Nice. Maybe your gay friend can keep the gay version, and then you can.
Well, he can, because it's actually on my first album.
Yeah.
And he's actually singing it.
Oh.
And I'm providing backing vocals. But then, obviously there was another time where, there was that situation with the LGBTI community was talking, and he wanted to write a song about that, so we wrote a song about that as well.
Yeah.
So, songs just come from different subjects, I guess. Like, for example, there was a time where one of my friends I felt was taking our friendship for granted, so I wrote a song about that. So it's just there, but these things don't happen just like that. Like I said, it has to mean something. Well, no, it has to mean something to me. Like and then I write about it. So I mean, like for example, like I said to you before, some people can just write about anything. Like you tell them a theme they have to write, they can do it. Where if you said to me, do that, I probably couldn't unless it meant something to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. So we're nearly at the end of the podcast. Just a couple more questions. So David, that deep one you've been dreading. What do you think the meaning of life is for you?
42.
Oh no!
No.
Say something else.
No, of course I will. Meaning of life for me, I think, is just, look, we've only got one lifetime that we know of, so I think just to make the most of it, be positive. I just feel that you don't achieve nothing by being negative. My motto has always been treat people the way I want to be treated. Now, I'm not perfect, so of course I'm going to make mistakes, but as much as I can, that's what I try and live by. Also, I think life is an opportunity for you to, contribute to the welfare of others as well, if you can. I don't know, just life is a chance to just enjoy what is put in front of you, and especially my life, to me, I consider it as a gift. So anything I can do to help people, I will. But again, I say I'm human, so obviously there'll be times where I can be an asshole as well. But I mean, as much as I can, I will try and live by those things, And as far as my disability, I just think I don't let blindness get in the way of what I want to do. If I can help it. Obviously, there are some things that you just have to understand that that's how it is. But I consider my disability as just something I can't do. Like, for example, you mightn't be able to program computers.
Yeah.
I can't see.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I look at it. you mightn't be able to play the piano, but you know, like I said, I might be able to do heaps of other things, which you can't do.
For sure.
So, or you can do things I can't do. I mean, this is how it is. And so I consider my blindness just like that.
Just a different skill set.
Yeah, exactly. Just something I can't do. I can't do much about it. You know, I wish I could, but then I wish I had $1 million as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Because my next question was going to be like, if you won the lottery tomorrow, what would you do differently about your life?
If I won $1 million, if I won Lotto, depending how much it was, what I'd like to do, which I was having a discussion about this with my friend the other day, I would just want to set myself up so I was comfortable for the rest of my life.
Nice.
And, you know, made sure that all of my dear friends that were looked after as well. And then the rest, I would just give to what I felt were the best charities or the best causes where my money could be the most, would give the most effect or would help the most, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Because I don't want to be one of these ones where I have so much money that I don't know who my friends are or who I can trust and who I can't trust.
Yeah.
I don't want to live like that. And money can, as much as people think money's great, if you have too much of it, in my opinion, it can be a hindrance.
Yeah.
Because once people know that you've got heaps of money, they change your outlook, whether you think that or not, or whether they want to or not. They see you in a different way.
Agree. Yeah.
So I don't want that to happen to me. Yeah. So if I won Lotto, yes, I'd set myself up, then I'd get rid of as much money I don't need.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll buy the best keyboard in the world too.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get someone to program an accessible keyboard. That's what I'd do as well.
Yeah, an actual grand piano.
No, I want something light.
Oh yeah, you want a portable, huh?
I want a portable, something really light so I can bring to this podcast.
Yeah.
And play for you, see?
Yeah.
I'll buy you one too, see?
Oh, very nice. Thank you in advance. Those tickets, Linda.
I might buy Linda, because Linda's trying to learn the piano too.
Oh, perfect. Free lessons from David.
No, she doesn't need any lessons from me.
All right.
She's got a rap.
Oh.
She just needs a piano, a really good piano.
Yeah. Oh, that's
there you
so
go.
cool. Yeah. And then, David, what is an ideal day in the life for you? You can fill it with anything and do anything you want.
Look, well, geez, you know what? No, I think I'd like to do what I'm doing now, to be honest. You know, I can't remember. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now. You know, maybe, you should have asked me this question 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. What would have been your answer 20 years ago, if you can think that far?
Oh, I think it would have been getting up, having a hot breakfast at some hotel, jamming as much food as I can in, and then going for you know, kind of a goalball session somewhere. So you know, to exercise hard. Yeah. Then whip down to the pub for 3 hours with my mates.
Yeah.
And then take out a nice hot lady out for the evening.
Ooh.
How's that?
Fancy. Yeah. And saucy. I reckon you still got it in you.
Nah, the ladies wear me out, so
yeah.
they'd probably wear me out now. I think I prefer what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's cool.
Slower, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I didn't know much about music then, but now I think okay, let me think about it. I love doing what I'm doing now, but just a lot more jamming. That's what I'd love to do. You know, I could like get up in the morning, have a nice breakfast, go and have a jam in the morning with some good mates, and then go for a nice lunch down to the pub somewhere, and then some more jamming, and then open mics in the evening.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, and also wondering if you're able to show the audience how you use your phone, because I think it's so awesome that like I get instant replies from David. I saw you like speaking to it, and I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Well, see, look, you know, if I don't think I've got any incriminating information, but
okay, hopefully not. Linda can.
Now I'm gonna to 1, 2, 3. Let's see. So basically, what I'm trying to do is turn voiceover on. So, but you should tell this because I would have had it ready, but because I turned it off because you said mute your phone. Yeah. Okay. But basically, I'm using an iPhone, and in the iPhone, it has accessibility settings. Now, that's there regardless what iPhone you get. So they don't just have a special one just for blind people.
Yeah, it's for everyone.
It's for everybody. So you could use accessibility settings if you wanted to, but you don't need to, right?
Yeah.
But you could. Now in this accessibility settings, there's a program called VoiceOver, and that's the program that reads what's on the screen and then pipes it out to a text of speech. Such as your Karens or your Amandas or whatever, or Samanthas, whatever voice you want to use, and so this allows you to access all the different programs on the phone. So I can use all the conventional programs like your Apple Mail, or if you're on a Mac, or if you're on the phone, just the Mail program, your Safari, iTunes, etc., etc. I can use all that, and the phone speaks when I run my finger over the phone. It'll speak the icon I'm on, and all I have to do is, if I want to activate, I'll just double click it, and then it tells me what information it's focused on, and then you can then act accordingly.
Yeah, and then so you talk, and then it also writes the text for you, right?
Well, you can do that, but you can actually just use the keyboard with your finger, and so you say, for example, I want to write a text to you, I would run my finger along the phone, and it will tell me what letter I'm on. So if I want to type an A, it'll say A, and then I just lift my finger, and it'll put that into the text field.
Yeah.
You've got to be quick about it, right?
Yeah, because you type with no typos, and I was like, that's brilliant. And you type fast. You have quick reply rate.
Yeah, well, but that's where I use the dictation, just like you would.
Yeah.
So I can use I use a combination of dictation and writing with my finger on the screen keyboard.
Yeah.
But then we use for the iPhone a combination of VoiceOver, Siri, and that's basically it. And, it's good.
Nice. We better end this podcast. So you want to say bye?
Yes, goodbye. It's been great being with you, and thank you, Karen, for having me on your Infinite Possibility podcast.
Thank you so much.